On Sunday, March 3rd, 1985, Shirley Durdin, 33 years old, her and her husband Barry, along with a friend Keith Coventry, ended up going to Wiseman's Beach, which is in South Australia. They went there to do some collecting of scallops. So they're out in the water, they did their scallop collecting, and now they're making their way back into shore. The water is clear, it's a nice day, there are no issues with visibility in the water. So they're heading back in at about 12:30. Shirley is about 150 meters from shore, so about 160 yards out. And her husband is about 10 meters from her, so about 30 feet from her. And he's standing on a rock because she's in 2 meters of water, which is 7 foot of water, and he probably is too, so he's standing on a rock so he can not have to wade, and maybe they're waiting for her to catch up to them, but for some reason they are separated. And Keith is by the rock with her husband Barry, but Barry is standing on the rock, and Keith is sitting there, and at 12:30 he hears a scream behind him, so his back is turned to where Shirley's at. And he says when he turned around, he saw her lifted completely out of the water. And the shark lifted her up out of the water. He said he saw a huge dorsal fin. So the shark's whole back is out of the water, probably has his mouth out of the water, shaking Shirley around. And then he sees her disappear into the water, and the water covers with blood-stained water all around her. Her legs resurface first, so she's been bitten in half. They send a patrol boat. So a boat comes out to go ahead and collect the remains, what's left of Shirley, and they get out there. Her legs are gone now, and her torso is there, and the shark, before they can get to the remains and get her out of the water, the shark comes back, bites her head off, removing her head, removes one of her arms, and then it comes back after that, takes the remains, and swims off. Barry, her husband, he was on this rock, and he had seen the initial attack. Like I said, Keith Coventry heard it behind him, so he turned and looked. Well, Barry wanted to get over there to try to help her, but Keith had noticed that, that first bite had did so much damage, there's nothing they're going to be able to do for her. Keith had to hold Barry back from going out there to try to help her. They end up going in, like I said, no injuries to them. The shark just took, and just one of the worst attacks on somebody I've heard of. It kind of reminds me of a couple other attacks where the shark kind of gets possessive with the remains, but this was different than some of those because this one didn't care. And it even says when the patrol boats showed up, the shark didn't care. It just kept doing what it was going to do, grabbed the remains, and just left. So they never did find a sign of her remains. So you run into a 20-foot shark and it's out to eat, like this one obviously was, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do with that. I don't know whether she was carrying scallops or whether she was getting that back into shore or not. I would think that, maybe she wasn't, but it's hard to tell. I didn't see any mention of that, and it doesn't seem that, the shark, I don't know that great whites are really interested in scallops that much. But it's just a brutal attack, a fatality, unfortunately, and a predation. That's the story of Shirley Durdin, 33 years old.